Many thanks to fellow Extraction Squad, one of the original DayZ servers, Close to the servers, Sgt. Pepper's servers, Sea of Salt Cloud, the Struggle Community, the Karma Crew servers, Darts, Design Fool, and Friendly, a DayZ podcast for making this video possible. Now that DayZ has boats, the mysterious Debug Island is far easier to get to and explore, so in this video we're going to look at how we can get to this island without the need of a compass, bust some myths about this hidden island and what you can actually do on it, explain why Chernarus is more than 100 times larger than people believe it is, and uncover the mystery of why this island was even created. The length and height of the Chernarus map is around 15,000 meters in either direction, but is much larger if you include the external areas of the map. Now, because we can travel into these external areas, we can explore outside of this designed map where stuff is spawned, and if you follow the bottom edge of the map here across to 24,000 meters, which is 9,000 meters off the edge of the map, this is exactly where the legendary Debug Island is positioned. To get to these coordinates as a player then, you can either go to the southern tip of Skalisky Island down here and point a compass at 105 and then travel straight and you'll get straight to Debug Island, or you can use what I'm calling the gateway to Debug Island, where you don't need a compass. To do this, simply stand on this rock here at the south of Skalisky Island, so nearby, and then face between the watery gap between these two rocks here, and that's a straight path to Debug Island, the gateway to Debug Island, which will take you 2 hours and 15 minutes to swim. To survive that kind of brutal journey, you will need full stats and a heat buffer stat, along with the most waterproof gear that you can find, which is this gear here, with this incredible chart by Asmondian giving us some more options when it comes to waterproofing our characters too. I swam here during autumn, during the day, and I took no damage from the cold, so this is very possible, but it's likely deadly if you do this during the winter months, or you do this without waterproofing your character. A better way to get here then is using the newly added boat, which will get you to Debug Island from this position in just 20 minutes instead, certainly much faster than 2 hours and 15 minutes. However, travelling in a straight line when it comes to boats is not easy, as boats will drift to left and right randomly as you travel, so you'll need a compass for this. You'll need to put the compass on your hotbar as you're driving, or to get up and check your compass from time to time, keeping east just left of the centre as you go, or again at 105. Depending on your view distance settings, you will see a piece of land in the distance, hopefully unlocking the invisible achievement of surviving the journey to Debug Island. Once here, you will notice that there's some weirdness happening, such as no impact sounds for thrown objects, and gunshot sounds sound very flat. Placing any item on the island will have it despawn if you move 100 meters away from it, so there's a 100 meter bubble around each item. If you go 100 meters away, there's a timer and it will despawn after that timer reaches 0. But if somebody stays within this 100 meters, you can do almost anything you want here, such as catch fish with fishing traps and then cook them, given that you bring the necessary supplies and you don't leave anything on the floor, because a server restart will clean everything up. The island itself has literally nothing on it. You cannot get any resources here. You cannot dig for worms, you cannot place garden plots, you can't even place snare traps or place down larger structures due to how uneven the ground is here. Spawning in a flagpole does give items around it the persistence buff indicated by this flag icon to make them more persistent and stay there for longer, but this buff does absolutely nothing out here. Every single item will still vanish when you're 100 meters away from it, or if you log out of this area. Logging back in will spawn you in the same location, so a relog will not spawn you back at the mainland, and this vanishing of items includes potentially the boat that you arrived here on, so be careful not to have your boat despawn. Don't go 100 meters away from it, leaving you with a very cold 2 hour plus swim back to the mainland if you make this mistake, which you can get to by following this central crease in the texture of Debug Island. So if you follow this along, you will get back to Skalisky Island. Otherwise known as Developer Island, this small piece of land in the middle of the ocean is rumoured to be used by developers for testing new mechanics and AI without the interference of nearby objects, which is not true at all, because there are many islands that are similar to this one. For example, if you follow the coast north of the edge of the map, so you don't even need a boat for this one, you just travel north by running, you will find many islands that are off the coast after around 20 minutes of running, and there are several islands in the area to the south too, some of which you can't even get onto due to what I'm calling the soft player barrier. As you venture beyond the edge of the map, you enter what's called the debug zone or the debug fields. At a certain point, you hit what's called the soft player barrier, where you fall through the terrain. You can no longer interact with objects or terrain, and you land in the water below. Now, you can still swim further if you wish, but you will not survive long enough to swim to the true edge of the map, because you will die of hunger and thirst before then. So this is the side of Chernarus, This is where the Debug Island is located, this is roughly where the soft player barrier is located, and this is the true size of Chernarus, a 27,000 square kilometer monster that can fit the entire map of Chernarus inside it 114 times. Now, if you're crazy enough to swim beyond the soft player barrier, what you see next would depend on the direction that you travel, with most directions showing yet more debug fields like this. However, traveling in some directions you will see what's called the Great Lakes, and in other directions you will get the Great Islands. As far as you can see, there are just too many islands to count in existence here, but traveling in any of these directions will eventually lead you to what can only be described as the pastry fields, where gaps in memory cause layers of terrain to mismatch and stack on top of each other into these phyllo pastry strips. When the pastry gets thick enough, it turns into green ravioli squares, and at this point, every single time, the game will crash when the ravioli is created, sometimes crashing so hard that the crash reporter itself will crash. So unless you're of Italian descent, I would highly recommend not trying this, as my computer was glitching out and locking up due to doing this, but also because when you log in the next time after going beyond this soft player barrier, your player is completely stripped of all of their gear and teleported to the coordinates 0, 0, or the bottom left corner of the Chernarus map, which is a painfully long and cold swim to the mainland. Debug Island then, as you may have guessed already, is created by pure mathematical coincidence out of the random hills and valleys that are generated in the debug zone, because if we remove the water from the map, it looks exactly the same as the debug zone. It just so happens that one of these randomly generated peaks is by chance tall enough to stick out of the water, creating what we know now as Debug Island. If you want to get to this Debug Island yourself, here are all the details on boats that we have so far. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.